Hey everybody, Dr. Sean here. I'd like to review with you a principle of biological optimization. So I have tried to optimize people for the past 14 years. I've worked with thousands of people and I've gotten a lot of insights and I call them principles. I basically have 10 principles. I'm going to share one of them tonight. Okay, it's an important principle. And I'm going to share it in the context of a story involving an NFL player client. It's an NFL player, and I'm going to talk about Kefir, okay, at the same time. So some really interesting content, NFL player, Kefir, and biological optimization. Okay, those are 3 points we're going to cover. And don't worry, this is not going to be a particularly long video. So what I'm going to do is just back up a little bit and allow you to take a screenshot so you can capture that particular principle, okay? So capture that screenshot, and then I'm going to tell the story about this biological principle. So what this principle is a insight into why people optimize and why people don't. So the person that can optimize, their man or woman that can optimize, particularly the best, is the person who uses their senses to optimize themselves, to improve themselves. Most people don't use their senses that way to optimize themselves. They use it to optimize their brief experience, a few seconds, a few minutes of eating something tasty, some kind of sensual kind of an experience. That's what they're trying to use their senses for, rather than trying to optimize themselves. Now, the enlightened individual tries to optimize themselves because in the aggregate between those two, the brief sensual one is just for a little bit. It's just comfort for a little bit. But the optimizing one uses their senses to make themselves better. It's for the rest of their life. They maximize their opportunities and get more return from it, as opposed to the person that's living for the moment. Okay, so it's a big difference in terms of outcomes. So let me try to relate this in the story in the context of Kefir and my NFL player. So I work with people, give them insights, and one of the strategies I work with them to optimize is their microbiome, the collection of microbes inside of them. And one of the ways I do that, that's where I differ from everybody, a lot of other physicians, is I leverage the microbiome and particularly fermented foods. So fermented foods have been around for thousands of years. And in particular, one I'm going to talk about tonight is Kefir, K-E-F-I-R. And I'll just hold up a bottle of it. And this is a store-bought bottle. And it's a good way to get started on Kefir, get exposed to it. The very best way is to actually make your own, but it's not to get started initially. You can buy some store-bought Kefir, and this is a pretty decent brand. So in this particular story, I'm working with this young NFL player, and he was a big guy, okay, 6'7", 280 pounds. He had a voice like this. He reminded me of Lurch, from the Addams Family. If you're my age, you should remember, Lurch from the Addams Family. He's a big, tall butler. And so he spoke like Lurch, and he was tall, only bigger than Lurch. And so I was explaining to the benefits of Kefir. He was very interested in health optimization, was studying, doing a lot of self-reading. And so he was going to try some of this Kefir that I had made, and was going to give him a little bit of a taste. Now, a little bit because you don't need much. You just need a little bit to get started in it. But he was very interested in knowing how much I took on a daily basis. And he didn't want to just hear about it. He wanted to see it, make me pour it in a glass. And I was reluctant to do it because I'm like, he's going to taste that. He's never going to finish it. And the idea of throwing that out really bothered me. And finally, I just finally gave in because he was like arguing with me. No, like pour it up. I want you to see, pour in the glass how much, you drink. I want to see what you do. And I finally realized, well, I'm just going to drink out of his glass. He's an NFL player. I'm not that worried about it. I'm going to drink out of his glass because no way was I going to throw that Kefir away. Because one of the things, if you really start using fermented foods, you just never throw those things away. It's harder to throw that stuff away than steak. I mean, it's just these living microbes that are so beneficial. And after using them, you just never want to waste those things. So I poured a glass of that Kefir, and he was asking me, when they ferment that stuff, they don't like leave it out at room temperature or anything. That's like fermented in a refrigerator, right? And I said, no, they actually have to ferment it at room temperature because that's how fermentation occurs. And he goes, oh, just like Lurch, for the show. And I thought, oh, this is not going to be so good. He's going to have a hard time with this. So he took that that kefir, and I'm just going to grab a glass. I have a big bottle here, but he had a glass, and it was pretty full. So it was like I'd say about 14, 16 ounces of it. And he held it up, and we had done some testing. So I had tested some of his physical capabilities and squirm and kind of key performance indicators. And he had a water bottle, that he had available in one of these water bottles. And he had left it on the other side of the room, and he has this kefir, and he's so he takes a taste of this kefir. I'll never forget this for the rest of my life. When he tasted that, the look that came over his face, and then he shouted, so loud, "It tastes like the Birthing Barn at the state fair." He was so grossed out. And he immediately sets out like in a sprint across the room to go grab his water bottle to rinse out his mouth. And he starts chugging the water. And I was like, my God, that could not have gone any worse. I was like, oh man, was that a mistake? But then came one of the biggest surprises of my life. He grabbed that water bottle, walked back to that big thing of kefir. He chugged the kefir, even though he's completely disgusted by the taste. And then he finished his water bottle after he completely consumed all that kefir. Because he knew what he had to do, and he wanted to do it. And it didn't matter what his taste told him. He intellectually knew that was what he needed to do, and he wanted to optimize his microbiome. And I realized in that moment, instantly, I looked at him, and I realized that's how that guy made it into the NFL. He knew what he had to do, and he did it when all the other kids wouldn't. He persevered. And so when it comes to biological optimization, I have another client that I work with today who says, if you got to be tough to be healthy. You got to be willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do. You got to sacrifice pleasure and comfort for the purposes of improving your life, improving yourself. And that doesn't mean you have to suffer, but there are things you just have to intellectually realize that are good for you to do. Exercise, eating healthy, not pursuing pleasurable, tasty food, but eating food that's good for you. Now, eventually, that kefir, those ferments become phenomenally good tasting. But initially, it pales in comparison to coconut cream pie, I suppose. The thought of that makes me want to gag today, that I used to eat crap like that. But the principle is use your senses to optimize yourself, not to chase pleasure. And that's how you'll move ahead and become a better person. So kefir is one of those things that you can get exposed to. You don't have to eat a lot of it. You don't have to drink a full glass of it. You just get some of those microbes inside of you. Start with small amounts and then increase over a period of time. All right. Well, I hope you appreciate this principle, how to use your senses, your insights to improve your body, improve your health, and not chase pleasure and comfort. And that you understand a little bit about kefir now and you can get exposed to it. I favor strongly homemade kefir. You can just take milk and get kefir grains or kefir colonies. You can buy them off Amazon. You can get them from other people that make their own kefir, and you can swap your kefir colonies with other people. And if you want to, initially get started with store-bought kefir, this is a pretty decent brand that you can get started with. And this is another brand that is also up in this Midwestern area. These are grass-fed and full-fat whole milk. organic, and they're great ways to get started on very, very small amounts and just get a little bit of these microbes inside of you. You don't have to consume large amounts like my NFL client. All right, well, I hope you appreciate this video. As always, I enjoy comments and questions from my audience. So if you have anything to share, please share it, and so that I can comment on it. And feel free to share this with somebody else that needs to get this principle of biological optimization down, that you can help them understand what they got to do to move ahead. And if you, as always, if you're interested in really becoming the best biological version of yourself, and you'd be interested in working with me, you can get more information about working with me and how to be considered for being one of my clients from my website at www.drseanomara. And you can follow me on Instagram and X, YouTube, all at DRSEANOMARA. So those are my handles that you can reach me on social media. All right, well, thank you very much for the privilege of being able to share this information with me, with you, and thank you for staying here throughout the entirety of this video, and we will see you on another biological optimizing video. Dr. Sean out.